Namaste, everybody. My name is Justin Michael, and I teach Universal Yoga here at Om Studio for Wellness in Alpharetta. What is Universal Yoga, and why Universal Yoga? Well, Universal Yoga is one version of yoga, because on this planet there is really only one version. But unfortunately, over time, we have stripped it away from its original version and created multiple versions. Some people identify yoga as only vinyasa and dynamic classes. Some people identify yoga as yin classes, a Chinese word associated with Sanskrit. But really, traditionally, yoga didn't even have many asanas. And it was all about developing unity, control, and balance within ourselves through meditation. And the meditation practices were the priority. Over time, asanas were developed in order to allow us to extend our spine whenever it got a little too stiff, so that we could return to our seated meditation. So the asanas are like flowers on the side of the road, Andre, our teacher, says. And they are not the practice, nor are they the priority of the practice, but they are just simply a tool to support the practice, which is becoming more aware of ourselves, relaxing ourselves, and developing more control through a relaxed state. Meditation should be a byproduct of yoga if the yoga is practiced correctly. But if it is not, then we could be just as mental as we were when we first started our practice. And this is some of the things that we pay attention to when we're practicing our yoga classes. Is it making us more embodied, more aware of our body, or more mental and aware of our thoughts and our paranoias, tensions, anxieties? And so whatever it is, we need to recognize and modify our classes accordingly. So why Universal Yoga? Well, one version also means that within that one version is every style. So if you are educated and know all the particular styles of exercise and yoga, then you know all the particular ways of balancing yourself, which are very important because each person has a unique body, and that body is changing throughout the time of their lives. In some parts of the year or parts of our lives, we need certain practices to reach balance. But in other parts of the year, or maybe parts of our lives, we need completely different practices to reach the same level of balance. And so Universal Yoga is the understanding of all potential methods and styles of yoga created over time that lead to the state of unity, control, and balance within oneself. And within that understanding allows the teacher or practitioner to modify their practices accordingly to maintain such balance. This might mean no asanas at all, active or stretching. It might mean an insane amount of asanas, strengthening and stretching. It might mean no vinyasas. It might mean nothing but vinyasas. It's a completely individual thing that is always changing throughout our lives, and only one that can really know is the individual themselves, and usually with the support of a teacher, qualified teacher at that. And so, with this said, why not Universal Yoga? Well, it just depends on your intentions. If you're practicing yoga in a studio or at home or anywhere in your life with the intention of only developing yourself physically, then it doesn't really matter. But it also does matter. In my opinion, why not Universal Yoga? Well, if you don't care, then it can be any yoga. If you do care, on a physical level, then you would know that universal sequences are very balanced. And if you want to develop your body in the most balanced way, then they're very ideal for that. And on top of that, the balance that is generated from a universal sequence is not only balancing all the ranges of motion in every joint, but it's developing the levels of quality of strength and flexibility and balance with that control. And so if you only care about developing yourself physically, then you can develop yourself physically the most balanced way and very rapidly, especially because one full sequence of Universal Yoga will cover all ranges of motion of the hips and all ranges of motion of the shoulders, unifying both parts, upper and lower, to create balance in all potential zones, which is also tapping into our neurological connections to those zones as well, which is balancing our whole brain. And so This is leaning into the other part of our practice, which is less physical and more mental. And so if you don't care about those things and you only care about developing yourself physically and you don't care how, then it doesn't matter to be universal yoga. If you do care how and you want to develop as swiftly and safely as possible, then I suggest universal yoga. It's going to be the most balanced system, whether you're doing it in a dynamic strengthening way or a static strengthening way or a passive stretching way. Whatever qualities you either specialize, become extreme about, you're doing it in a way that develops a balance. And if you catch yourself losing balance, you modify it in a way that maintains the balance that you've created or are seeking. So all these things are really important to the person who cares. So why universal yoga for the other qualities? Because it develops the other qualities where all other forms of yoga that emphasize mostly only the physical practice completely lose. So what does this mean? It means more control of our breathing, more control and awareness of our mind, and we try to maintain those levels of control throughout the whole sequence all the time, and maybe even when we're not practicing yoga. The awareness should start expanding more and more in our body, but also remaining in the body even when we're not practicing asanas, vinyasas, pranayamas. And we catch ourselves when we lose, and we bring ourselves right back to. And that is the original practice of yoga. Everything else is to support this process of awareness, recognizing when our awareness wanders, and returning it back to the source. The more we do this, the more we maintain a sense of control at the source. The less we do this, the more we identify with just constantly wandering around, our mind always getting distracted. But in universal yoga, our rules of practice, we cover the attention through controlling the breath and the bandhas. And if we can't control the bandhas, we only control the breath. If we can control the breath, we control the asana. But slowly we'll work on the asana and we focus on the breath. And if the breath becomes nice and ease, full of grace, then we can develop another layer of control, which is adding the bandhas, squeezing, engaging pelvic muscles or the navel, depending on our respiratory control. So this is developing ourselves on the physical level with the posture, energetic level with the breath, and more mental level with internal levels of control, contractions, relaxations, and then even more psychological level with visualizations, visualizing either the outcome of the asana in perfect pose. Maybe you're only level 1 practitioner, but you want to visualize yourself at level 3. That is working on the level of your mind, your yantra. Or what I like to cue in our classes for mostly beginners is awareness of the sensations when you're dissolving with the breath and the asana, and you have more capacity to have another layer of control. You visualize the zone, the tension in the zone that you're working on, and you dissolve it with the breath, visualizing the tension leaving the body. So we use yantras in the form, like I just expressed, but also in the form of colors, lights, and different things, activities that we maintain so that we are controlling our body, physical channel, our breath, energetic channel, and our mind all at once. Noticing whenever one or another channel gets distracted and bringing all three back into play together. Maintaining that process for extended periods of time is what starts developing a tantric practice, and more energy in ourselves and more energy we can share with others. If we only focus on the asana, then the breath will be neurotic and chaotic, and we won't be able to find ease and power in the asana. If the breath is controlled nice and well, but the mind is wandering as well and distracted, then the thoughts are carrying tension, are going into the body that you're trying to dissolve that tension out of. So it's counterproductive. We want to control our mind, and we want to avoid secondary thoughts. And we just catch ourselves whenever we have secondary thoughts and return our awareness to the regulation and control of the breath, awareness of the asana, the function of the asana, the sensations it's creating, whether it's a strengthening, stretching, or bouncing asana, and how we can relax ourselves in those processes with the control of the breath. Moving in and out of all these layers of control will be individual. Some people, on some asanas, they're only working on the physical level. Some people are working physical and energetic. Some are working on all 3 levels. But with the next asana, you who are working on 3 levels might only control 2. And those who are only controlling 1 might be able to control all 3. So even within every particular posture or movement linked with breath, vinyasa, the qualities can vary from person to person. And it's up to the individual to provide the necessary qualities for them to keep their attention trapped in the body, the breath regulated, the heart rate controlled by those regulations, and able to develop in a conscious, relaxed way. And I say relax, but it's not very relaxing when you're doing it. And this is kind of funny game to play when I have people in a very tough asana and I'm asking them to push themselves to the limit, go to the over limit if you can without pain, and then see how much you can relax there. It's kind of like training our mind to go into war and be okay, relax the whole time. Because if we're not emotional in war, then we're more focused and we might actually have success. If we are emotional and mental in war, then we won't be as focused and we might not have as much success. It doesn't matter how much war we engage with. And so in this case, we could hold pigeon for years. But if we're just sitting there thinking all kinds of random things that have nothing to do with how the asana, pigeon, is making us feel in the body, externally rotating the hip, and how we're breathing in a way to dissolve those tensions, it's almost like, it looks like pigeon on the outside, but absolutely nothing different happening on the inside. The inside, same chaotic me ever before. Only difference is my posture is different, but my breathing, still neurotic, my thoughts, still chaotic, and all that is bringing more tension into the body, even though I make it look like I'm relaxing. So very important for us to catch ourselves. Are we just hanging out in asanas? Are we just waiting to get to the next one? Or are we recognizing, capturing the function of whatever we're doing in the process, modifying it, making it as easy as it needs to be or as hard as it can be, and then engaging into that process to develop ourselves as much as we can while we can. No asana lasts longer than 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And so the time is always flying by and the clock is always ticking. So really, if you're spending money on a class, you want to get the most out of your class, you will try to be as attentive and relaxed as you can to get the message, to find the function, and to get the results. But we don't want to do this the Western way. We don't want to do it neurotic and chaotic. We want to do it with consciousness, awareness, and relaxation. And we just catch ourselves whenever we go to the old self, neurotic, chaotic me, just throwing myself around for the sake of whatever, and stop. And then, how can I do it in a more conscious, gentle, and aware? And not only conscious, gentle, and aware, I say gentle, but that doesn't mean less intense. Sometimes moving more gently means even more intense, but with control, not overwhelming ourselves, but not underwhelming ourselves either. So, why not universal yoga? Well, if you don't care that much, it doesn't really matter. If you can feel good for whatever kind of yoga you buy, then that's fine. But if you've been practicing yoga, it feels like fitness and you feel like it could be more, or if you've been practicing yoga and you know it can be more and you want it to be more, that means that you are ready for more. You have more mental capacity and physical capacity to develop yourself, not just on the physical level, but on the energetic, mental, and psychological level. And we can do that through the physical practice. Very important, not to lose that ability, not to let the physical practice become only physical. And same with the other side, not to let the mental practice become only mental, but to use the body the best we can to find the balance and meditative states that we need, and then to use the mind to get the results in that relaxation, states of relaxation, and the meditation to go further and further and further. Not just to look good for pictures, not just to look meditative on the internet, but to really be meditative, to really change our consciousness from the old me who was aggressive, short-tempered, short whatever, fill in the blanks, to the new me, which is more aware, more conscious, more relaxed, and more loving. Able to share more means able to love more. If we are only able to work on ourselves for ourselves, how could we help anyone else? And so this also comes to original goal of original yoga, which is detachment from our practices. This goes against everything the West does, because our practice is solely for ourselves, right? But in the East, it's not. You practice to create a sense of balance within yourselves, not so you can feel good in your life, regardless of others and what they're doing, but so that you can actually be suitable to help others. And the argument here is that how can I help anyone else if I already know I myself am not well? I'm not balanced, I don't have self-control of my emotions, and I think that I can when I feel good, but if anything happens, I lose it. How could I help? And so yoga gives us this ability to develop deeper relationship with our psychology, our energy, the blood flow in our body, and the actual sensations, what's going on in our body biologically. And also trains us to work with those realities with very good methods to maintain balance. Sometimes we do need some physical asanas to find balance. Sometimes it's all emotional, all in our head. We just need to focus on our energy, controlling our breath, relaxing our mind. Sometimes we just need to maintain relaxed mind because we know that it's being pulled in every direction. And in those cases, we don't have to control the breath, we just have to stay relaxed. And in whatever case, they all lead to the same goal, which is developing a sense of peace within me so that I could share that peace with you. So, if our intentions are only for I, me, my, then very limited they are. And only so far they can go. Not very far at all, actually. So these are things that take a little thinking. Why do I really want to go practice yoga? Am I just looking for a girlfriend, boyfriend, or to feel myself good, or to make myself look a certain way? Or am I really trying to see what's going on inside me and see whatever I can do to generate and support a sense of balance, unity, and control? And not just for me, but so that I could be a better father, mother, sister, brother, cousin, nephew, co-worker, whatever it is, fellow driver on the road. It's all up to us to see what's going on in our lives and to ask ourselves, am I using yoga to change myself or exacerbate the very qualities that have caused the problems that I have? I hope you do the first and decide to practice for the benefit of all, because this is the only way we can change not only ourselves, but the whole world. So join us or not. If you want to practice only physical, join us to do it well. If you don't care, practice yoga anywhere. If you want to change your consciousness and change your life, for sure join us, don't go anywhere else. Because it's questionable whether anywhere else is actually going to provide real change or just more fitness in the guise of change. So thank you so much. Don't forget my classes, Wednesday 6:15 p.m. and Sunday 9 a.m. Both of them are vinyasa first half, deep stretch for the second half. Give yourself the ability to warm up, and then in the second half, ability to relax and go deeper in passive asanas. All of which create balance on the level of the body, the breath, and the mind, so that we can experience balance, euphoria, and from there, develop deeper states of meditation. So, come join us, experience the post effect, and don't die undeveloped. Namaste.